boy. What a great panorama. Yeah, if you gotta be somewhere. Alright, we stopped in here to see Grandma and Grandpa's grave. Uncle Charles's grave. Picked up Jen Hall. And here's Walt's grave. (1901 to 1971). And Grandma and Grandpa are buried just up the way. There's Jen coming down to say hello. All right. Grandma and Grandpa's grave. What a nice place to be if you got to be somewhere, huh? I don't know. Is that the way you say things?
Yes, that's exactly.
All right. Okay. So we can get to this. Got the flamingos going. In your face. Let's take a look here at the, oh, perfect. Perfect hot dogs. Yeah. You'll like this 40 years from now. Yeah. Oh. The Pampered Chef. What do you have in it? Diet Pepsi.
In fact, this is really, really, really good film. Why don't I take a nice picture of you two here?
Okay.
All right. See, I'm never camera shy.
Find everyone.
It's been a while. What would you like on your hot dog? Okay. All right. Where we roll. Yeah.
You perked up. That's nice. Why? Well, I'll do it from a distance. Now we have some old video, actually old 8mm of your dad when he was 8 years old. We'll have to show it to you before we go. Yeah, it's really neat.
What are you doing? So Susan says that back surgery.
Good job. Hey, come here. Come here and see me for a minute. Come here and give me a handshake. All right. How you doing today? Say something in the camera for your grandpa. Tell him what a great guy he is.
I'm Dylan.
You what?
I'm 4.
You're 4?
Yeah, and I'm Dylan. I'm Dylan.
You're Dylan? Okay. And tell your grandpa how great you think he is.
I don't know how.
Okay. All right. Good picture. Go get your sister. Tell her I want to take a picture. Cute.
She's not coming.
Yo, she's here. I'm getting pictures of all these little girls. How are you guys today? Did you eat yet? What'd you have?
I don't remember.
A hot dog?
Can I take a picture of
Maybe a
this?
little bit later. I'll take it. So tell me your name.
Vienna.
And how old are you?
5.
And how happy you are to be here? Barry? Huh? I thought so. And tell me your name. And you are? How old? 2? 3. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see one finger. Okay. Did you have something to eat? No? Are you going to? Let's have a hot dog.
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. All right. Well, I'll catch up with you.
Yeah.
All right?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Madge. Happy birthday to you.
Why would he work for that? May you have many more. May you have many more. May the Lord richly bless you.
So
Happy
this was
birthday
yours.
to you.
That was not hers.
I never will marry. I'll be no man's wife. I intend to live single all the days of my life. Some say that love is a gentle thing. It only has brought me pain. And the only boy I'll ever love is gone on the midnight train. I never will marry. I'll be no man's wife. I intend to live single all the days of my life. Your company unto me, it makes me feel while I'm away that every day is free. I never will marry, I'll be no man's wife. I intend to live single all the days of my life. You'll see the grass whereon you stand arise and grow again. But love, it is a killer thing. Did you ever feel the pain? I never will marry. I'll be no man's wife. I intend to live single all the days of my life.
Is that red thing here? So,
Thank you.
it is not mine.
Because I haven't looked at our entire list. Our collection of songs consists mostly of songs that we've done at weddings over the years, and some are the ones that are throwbacks from when we were going to college and doing the folk thing. So I think there's a few of us here that can. A few people would I don't have to feel too old in this group. No.
That's right. Wait a minute.
I withdraw it.
Oh, I forgot a song. Well, it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. If you don't know by now, when the rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone.
it's alright. Well, it ain't no use in calling out my name, girl. It's like you never did before. And it ain't no use in calling out my name, girl. I can't hear you anymore. Oh, I wish there was something you could do or say. Try to make me change my mind and stay. We never did too much talking anyway. Don't think twice, it's alright. Turn on your light. Well, it ain't that light I'd never miss. And it ain't no use in turning on your light, hey. I'm on the dark side of the road. Oh, I ain't saying you treated me unkind. You could have done better, but I don't mind. You just sort of wasted my precious time. Don't think twice, it's alright. I'm walking down that long, lonesome road bed, where I'm bound I can't tell. And goodbye is too good a word days, so I'll just say very well. Oh, I'm thinking and wondering all the way down the road. I once loved a woman, a child I'm told. Gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. Don't think twice, it's alright.
What's that?
No, don't do that.
Is that great grandson?
That's Eric.
Oh, that's Eric. But
Then just
Zach Thompson.
Yeah.
She went after some more food. She went after some more food.
Didn't like it here. It was kind of funny to have all these kids.
sharing our love together. I know in time we'll build the dreams we treasure. We'll be alright, just you and I. Just you and I,
Just you and I,
sharing our love together. And I know in time,
and I know in time
we'll build the dreams we treasure. We'll be alright, just you and I remember our first embrace, the smile that was on your face, the promises that we made. Now your love is my reward, and I love you even more than I ever did before. Just you and I,
just you and I,
we care and trust each other. With you in my life,
with you in my life,
there'll never be another. We'll be alright, just you and I remember our first embrace, the smile that was on your face, the promises that we made. Now your love is my reward, and I love you even more than I ever did before. We made it through.
Tom,
Found one here, Madge. The other day was saying there are about three times 50th year we celebrate, 75 we celebrate, and there's another one down the road. Yeah. Yeah, how about that?
Somewhere down there.
Just a minute, please. We hope you're having a good time, and we're really thankful that all of you came to help Mom celebrate this birthday. We're all privileged to have such great friends and relatives that would take the time, make the effort to be here. We really, really appreciate it. And so on behalf of the family, we thank you very much for that. And we want you to stay and have a little cake with us too this afternoon. So. And there's a lot more food. There's back of hors d'oeuvres. So. Lots of ham, hot dogs, whatever you want. It's time for round 2. And Vicky, what is this?
wait, light the candle.
No, I just thank you all for coming. I think that was really nice for you to take your time and be here with us.
Great.
Our pleasure.
Okay.
We're glad to be here.
Okay, blow out the candle.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was a screen here. I don't know how you get to that.
Will you mind your own business?
Even though I think she's kind of hard on herself. So young.
He seems like
I'm
a
just
good
curious.
Is he good natured?
I just want to know if I can help you.
Probably. This is a test.
She lived with many who wasn't
Speak up.
She raised everything.
sensitive to her at that time.
What are you looking for?
I'm trying to get back to the,
Okay.
yeah.
You're on. You're on.
So much for the great community.
The date today is June 12th, 2004. And the objective today is to get to better know Pearl Bean and Madge Fortune Chicoine. We want to make sure that we know the nuances of their lives. So in order to do that, we're going to ask them a few pointed questions.
He's a ham.
Dang, you're good.
So far. And my name is Tim Fortune.
Youngest son.
We always call him Tom, but
You always call him Tim, of course.
Well, let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
getting what?
Where were you born?
I was born in a long time. My parents were on their way to Omaha and didn't make it.
And who were your parents?
Victor and Irene Buck. B-O-E-C-K.
B-O-E-C-K.
What year was that, Pearl?
1922. October 11th.
And were you a healthy, thriving baby?
No, I was really skinny and ugly. My mother said I looked like a skinny bird.
So what happened
So,
that day?
well, I got beautiful. How'd you be serious? Okay.
All right. So when were you born?
I was born in June. You suppose you want the date? June 11th.
What year?
1924.
And where were you born?
I was born in Rushville in a little square house on, what street was it? I don't know, in Rushville, in a little square house.
Is that true? Was it a hospital?
No.
No, just a
Born at
midwife
home?
or just born at home?
I don't remember whether there was a midwife there or not.
You were a little young.
I was young.
Yeah.
As best you can remember.
Yeah.
Now, what are your earliest memories in your childhood? I mean, collectively, what?
Way back. I think way back.
Yeah, going back to, can you remember like when you were 2 and 3, where you lived and what your lives were like?
We lived over the doctor's office. That's what I remember.
Yeah,
But
Where?
that was- that little house, I don't remember. It was the only house we ever lived in
In Rushville?
with a yard. And after that, we lived in apartments and played on the sidewalk.
In the alley.
In the alley. And we lived over a doctor's office, and there was a steep flight of stairs, and there was a door we had to pass, and it just scared me to death. I always ran past it, because I thought somebody had come from the basement and get me.
How old were you?
Probably. How old were we then? 8. Oh, that was, before that we lived, my father had an electric shop and my mother had a beauty shop. And we lived on Highway 20 and had an apartment behind that. So that,
The doctor's office that you remember, was that
that came later. And the other
south
was,
of Highway 20 there?
yeah.
About a block? Was that Dr. Hook and Dr. Crumb's
Right.
office? It was still their office when we were kids?
But I remember before that. I remember when we were in Denver, when my mother was taking the beauty school, Muriel School of Cosmetology, and we were there for 9 months.
What year was that?
I don't know, I was 4, 1927, and she was in kindergarten, and then she flunked kindergarten, and they put her back. This teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Kindergarten?
This teacher said, why, yes, she could go on to first grade if you take her out in December. And then I came back the next year, and I went into first grade, and they moved me back to kindergarten. And there was a little boy that my mother insisted I walk to school with, and he had encephalitis. He had water,
Yeah, water.
and he walked on his toes, and he was different.
You had some brain injury, sounds like.
Yeah, and I had to walk to school with him, and the kids made fun of me and said he was my boyfriend. And I thank her to this day for teaching me to be compassionate. And I'm proud of myself that I walked with him. And then some people came in to test him, and they had him cut out a fish, and he cut off a fin, and decided he couldn't go to kindergarten. And I thought they were going to send me home too, because I'd have probably cut off a fin too.
That's funny.
What are some other early memories? What was your first memory of school? That was Pearl's kindergarten experience. What was yours like, Mom? Where were you in kindergarten?
I don't remember so much about kindergarten as I do going to Denver when our mother was in the school. Oh, Aunt Agnes, my mother's sister, went with us to babysat.
Oh, she did. This is Charlie Cordes' Agnes?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and she was there with us to be our sitter.
Now, can I ask you a question? So, when did Grandma and Grandpa Buck split up? Were you really, really young when they split?
When they divorced, I was 8.
You were 8?
When I was 7, you were 5. They were going through the process, and we had to live with the Messengers for 6 months.
Oh, that's right.
And neither of them could have us.
Was that in Rushville?
And they were really nice
Like
to us.
like a foster home sort of
Yeah,
arrangement?
they were
I never
terrific.
knew that.
And
Rose
played with us.
Messenger.
And,
Rose
yeah, she was-
Did they have a car franchise? Was that Messenger or Mildred?
No.
No.
Well,
And we walked to school with the neighbor kids, and that was a nice experience. Harold Salisbury and
was it?
Barth, Kenneth
Kenneth
Barth,
Barth.
yeah.
Did you get to visit? Were you able to visit your parents during that time?
And they came to visit us, and one day our father came to take us for a ride, and he kept going and kept going. You can tell this one.
Well, we ended up in Omaha, and he took us to his sister, Elsa,
Yeah, and Elsa.
who was not married, and her brother Robert, their brother Robert, and Elsa lived together. So he dropped us off there, and we lived with them for a while. And then we went to Iowa,
Council Bluffs.
Council Bluffs, Iowa, and lived with a cousin who didn't particularly want us there.
She had the mean genes.
Yeah, she tolerated us, but she wasn't particularly happy that we were with her.
That was who?
Clara.
No.
Clara.
You know this story? This is news to me. I never realized this.
Did Grandma know where you were?
That month she didn't, and Charlie Plants was her lawyer, and she hawked her diamond rings and went down, wanted to see us, and they wouldn't let her see us.
Or tell her where we were.
Or tell her.
They, who
The
would,
relatives, my
Yeah.
father's relatives. And so she went back, and Charlie Plant says, good, they played right into our hands. And she was furious with him for saying that. She really wanted results. So then they got their divorce, and the next summer he got custody, and we went back for the summer and stayed with Clara, and he was down in Kansas doing electrical work. We saw him maybe once or twice.
Did we? I don't even remember seeing him.
And he was paying for our keep, but we didn't have any contact. So then after that, he didn't come after us anymore.
So you went back to Rushville then after that
We
summer?
went back to Rushville, and he came occasionally and came to get us.
You know, Elsa and Robert were very influential in your lives, I think, and you know, they were in our lives certainly as your children. What, you know, when you think about their background, just to kind of fill in the gaps there, they were first generation German immigrants. They came over,
Our father did too.
right? What, you know, when did they come? When they were very young?
Well, I couldn't find it. I was looking on the internet, on the genealogy, and I found a manifest that showed that Robert came, it's probably maybe 1911. I'd have to look to be sure. Yeah, and he
So
came.
they'd only been in the country about 10, 12 years.
When you were born?
When you were born.
Yeah, and he didn't have very much money. It told how much money they had, and he came as a farmhand, and his sponsor was Aunt Elsa in Omaha. And then Anna came later. And
That was her sister.
Yeah, the baby of the family.
Right. She ended up in Detroit eventually.
Well, yeah, but right then she went to Omaha too, and she went as a housemaid. And so they got work there. But I admired Elsa. She came, and she was probably 16 or so, I'm not sure of her age. But she went to the grade school, the elementary school, sat in a 4th grade class, and learned English. And she worked hard and went to Creighton University and received an education that enabled her to work in the insurance office.
Oh, darn.
She did.
Creighton's in Iowa. She went to Iowa then too.
Creighton's in Omaha.
Oh, it is in Omaha. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like
So
Jesuit.
Yeah.
she did that. And Uncle Robert was a
Motorcycle.
Harley Davidson man, and he repaired motorcycles for the police department.
He did that for 30-some years.
Yeah.
And I think that was his only transportation, because I can remember when we were there, he'd take us out to see Aunt Madge, and we'd be in a little sidecar on the motorcycle.
kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd go down through, it was kind of
The
a...
two of you were in one sidecar?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd go through the rough part of Omaha, and little kids on the street would yell at us, you know, as we went by. And we'd wave at them. We didn't know that they were hostile.
Well, actually, when we were with Clara at the end of her street, a train went through, and we'd run down every time the train was due and wave at the conductor and the engineer and the people and the bums. And
And there were a lot of hobos on the
had a
train
great
that
time. Yeah, that was, we looked forward to that.
When you got back to Rushville, when Graham Thomas had custody of you, what was your life like then? After you were 8 and 9, what happened that was of significance to you then? Can you remember? how your
She
life
married
went?
Wilkie in 1931.
Yeah.
When we came back, she had a surprise for us, and they were married.
They were married.
They were already married when you came back?
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys feel about that?
Oh, he made a terrific father,
He did. He was really good to us.
and very good to us.
And Mom was really serious about being a mother who was firm and demanded discipline, and he teased us and entertained us.
And he got reprimanded as much as we did.
That went right on till the end.
Yeah, one time I got a little sassy and he said to her, "Did you hear what she said?" She said, "Yes, I wondered how come she hadn't said it sooner."
And you all heard me tell about the time Madge threw a shoe and hit Mama's well.
I don't remember that.
And we all turned to stone. I mean, my mother laughed. Broke the tension.
Yeah, because everybody was so scared.
How did they meet? How did Grandma and Wilkie meet? You know?
I think they knew the same people.
Right, that must
Yeah.
be.
See,
Yeah.
Gramp was, he had moved there from,
I think Coeur d'Alene wasn't.
well, he moved there from eastern Nebraska, didn't he?
Oh yes, yeah.
But I think that he went to work for Charlie Cordes, didn't he?
I could have. I don't
And then-
know.
No,
and then-
in the early years of the marriage, didn't he drive a, they called it a dray?
Oh, that was after they got married.
Yeah.
But before that, he worked on a farm from dawn till dusk for $1 a day.
And that was before they were married, wasn't it?
Oh, I thought after they were
Okay.
married. And then he hauled coal for Walter Wilmington. And then evolved into renting a farm and raising milk cows and selling it to the store,
Right.
to owning the farm and raising cows and pigs.
He rented the farm from Vigo Clausen,
Vigo
didn't
Clausen.
he? East of
Yeah.
Rushville, and had a little dairy.
Mhm. And sold it to Walt Hall.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the things that Grandpa Thomas would do to tease you and to tease us through the years.
Pass the butter and tip your thumb into it. If you had a marshmallow cookie, he'd smash your hand on it. So then I stuck a fork in his hand and it bled. He got so he's careful about me.
She was always a lot rougher than I was.
I was rough. Yeah.
And when he'd get,
Yeah. When you knew you'd gone far enough, he would pat his head and frown, and then we knew to settle down.
And blink his eyes.
And we did settle down too.
Yeah.
He had us buffaloed.
What do you remember about school in Rushville? What was it like in grade school? How were your teachers? Were they good teachers? Did you guys like school?
I liked it.
Could hardly wait in the summer till school started.
What are some special things you remember about school?
Well, one time my father came to ask me to go with him, and my mother had told us not to go with him. And Herman Steltenpole was his friend, and so Mom didn't
An
trust
uncle
him.
by marriage.
Yeah,
he was a custodian?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so Miss Anderson said, "Your father's here. He wants to see you." And I said, "My mother told me I couldn't." And she said, didn't understand it, and I started to cry. And this woman was a teacher and kind of a formidable figure, and she hugged me. And I loved it, so I cried some more.
Cried every day.
Reinforcement.
Yeah.
When did you guys start going to church, and what was your spiritual life like at that point when you were in the...
We went to Sunday school
I
early,
never
right
remember
across
a
the
time
street.
when I didn't go to Sunday school. I never remember a time.
What church did you go to?
Methodist, right across the street from where our apartment was. Or where
In
we were
Rushville,
shop.
there across from the shop?
Yeah, it was right
On
on the
Highway
corner.
20?
And Pearl and I always went to Sunday school.
And our mother was proud of that, but she wouldn't go with us.
Yeah.
Much later she did, but at that
Well,
time...
much later, after they were married, we talked them into joining the church. They waited until we were grown before they joined.
So did she always have the beauty salon while you were growing up in Rushville?
Yeah,
She always
always.
had that?
And she wanted to be a nurse, but she chose that because she could be where we would come home and she could see what we were doing and take care of us. Came first.
We had an apartment, and in front of the apartment was her beauty shop. And then in later years, in front of that, her waiting room, she had a dress shop, and we both worked in that.
Yeah, and had plenty of nice clothes for high school.
Right,
She
yeah.
sold hats.
Were they, was this like new dresses?
Oh, yeah, it was a dress shop, a nice dress shop.
Never knew that. So if I'm thinking of the beauty shop now, where would that have? Where would the shop have been?
In the waiting room.
Area, okay.
What do you remember about your commitment to Christianity or to Christ or that part of your lives?
My commitment was right to begin with. I didn't have any trouble with that. It was just right off, and I don't know why. I don't know where it came from, but it was just there. And when I was in high school, we went to MYF, Methodist Youth Fellowship, and we had a camp out at State Park.
Shadron State Park?
Shadron State Park. And when I was about a sophomore, it really hit me with a bang. And I had to join a church, and I made a commitment to myself.
When we joined at the same time, and I loved the camp. They'd sing taps, and then they'd sing the echo. The boys were over there, and the girls over here. And we met all kinds of people. We loved to have somebody who was different so we could be nice to them. If we happened to have a black person, that was really great.
And our mother didn't go to church. This was funny. Our mother didn't go to church. She didn't make us go to church. She didn't. I don't think she even suggested we go to
Really
church.
came from within them, basically. Your dad was probably not a church goer, I'm assuming.
I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. It was after I was married.
Probably because the kids we knew went. I think it was kind of a group thing.
Maybe it was. I don't remember why, but I had to go to church, period. I had to. Because I had to, not because anybody else thought I needed to. And after we were married, we talked them into joining the church.
But she had a pretty firm set of values.
Oh, you bet. You bet.
That we all, I think, kind of,
The little guidelines?
Church notwithstanding, yeah, but
Yeah.
I think you have a list of them there. don't you?
Yeah.
so talk about that a little bit and how.
And in spite of the differences with Aunt Elsa, we talked about that earlier, they shared the same values, and they wanted good behavior above all else, and they were very disapproving of anybody in the family who drank.
And our
Father.
Our mother's mother died when she was like 2 or 3, and her father died when she was barely a teenager, and so she was kind of alone as a young teenager, and I think she knew what could go on, and she was determined that her children weren't going to go through some of the same things that she did. And so we didn't, believe me. Of course, I didn't intend to. I don't know about you. But I knew what my values were right off. And I don't know, like I say, I don't know that the church taught me that. I don't know where I learned it.
And I thought she didn't need to be that definite about it because I knew that I chose not to. And if I'd chosen to, she couldn't have stopped me.
This is the whole thing, yeah. If we chose to be like she was afraid we might be.
We made the choice.
We made the choice, and we would have done what we wanted to do anyway if we had. So, but anyway, she was a good mother and wanted to be sure she had the best for her daughters.
What kind of a work ethic did she have? She worked hard?
Yeah, she was a hard worker, I think.
Did you have responsibilities and things that you had to do as children growing up?
Not bad. I did the ironing and she kind of cleaned house, wasn't that it?
I loved to clean house.
And I loved
from
to
one
iron.
end to the other.
Hey,
She
that's
liked
one
it.
time we got along. I liked to iron and she liked to clean.
And one time, Madge was misbehaving, so
Oh, here we go.
she had her hand on the chair. Boy, I aimed for her. I was going to get her, and I did that. And she moved her hand, and it swelled up. Oh, my mother said, you don't have to do the dishes till Madge told how it happened. And I had to do the dishes. I was wounded. Didn't do that again.
In 2 ways.
Oh, yeah.
What do you remember about high school? You went to Rushville High.
What year did you graduate?
41.
41.
Yeah, 42.
Well, backing up a little bit, do you remember the Depression?
You know, we didn't know we were poor.
Everybody was poor.
Everybody
We
was.
didn't have any
Everybody was,
problem
yeah.
with it.
What'd you do in high school? Did you have activities? I mean, NYF you talked about, but you've talked about And we've seen pictures of things that you participated in.
We
What'd you do?
belonged to Pep Club. Pep Club, I was a drum majorette.
You
The,
were? I never knew that.
And I, yeah, we were both twirlers.
I had no idea.
Played the bass drum.
I played the
I
clarinet.
did.
I played the clarinet. And marching
And
band.
then I accompanied, and I didn't want anybody to hear it if I made a mistake, so I played pretty quiet. And Mr. Beers thought I was a good accompanist because I didn't play louder than the soloist. So I had a job. They had clubs where the kids played, so I got to go to all of them. And they had really nice food and, you know, really classy and nice programs. So I decided I wanted to belong to clubs when I grew up. Where I went, there weren't any, so I started one.
So you already knew how to play piano by the time you were in high school?
Oh, yeah.
How did you, when did you start? Who taught you?
When we lived on above that doctor's office, Wilkie and a friend moved that piano
Our stepfather.
Yeah.
up those stairs. It was huge. It was heavy.
And who taught you how to play then?
A lady, Mrs. Fairhead, and then later another teacher in town. Then I went to Nebraska Wesleyan.
I took lessons for 2 years too.
Nobody told you to practice.
No, I didn't know you were supposed to practice.
Now,
Oh, okay.
some of the other things I remember you talking about were, yeah, and Mom, you recently started your tap dancing lessons again. Were you both in dance? When did you start that?
First, there was a man who traveled in those tent shows they used to have. They go from town to town, set it up, and entertain people. They were great. And he was a professional. He came back to town, so my mother asked if he'd teach us. And he did.
Who's he?
You don't remember him. Well, he taught us a square chair dance and some things like that. And my mother said, "You're not teaching them how to move their hands." And then Mrs. Brewster came to town.
A professional.
And she had a sister act with her sister, and their mother bought clothes. So then their mother sent clothes for us.
So were you a sister actor?
We were a sister act.
Yeah, but we weren't professionals like our teachers.
Yes, we were. Madge doesn't remember, but we played between picture shows.
Oh,
And
that's
we got
right.
50 cents.
That's right. I forgot.
You got 50 cents for it?
50
We were
cents for
professionals.
dancing.
We got paid for dancing.
Oh.
What did you do with your 50 cents when you got it?
I probably bought a Coke, and the rest of the kids were buying milkshakes, and I saved the rest.
Yeah.
I probably saved mine.
So you tap danced and performed for little groups? How long did you do that? Through
Yeah,
high
we
school?
did that for the Lions Club or some club.
Yeah, you know, I forgot that.
Down at the hotel, we went down.
Mhm. And we did ballet too.
Mhm.
Through high school?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Probably
Sure how.
13 or 14,
You did.
something like that.
Talk about Rushville a little bit. You know, my childhood memories are that both sides of the Main Street were just full of stores, the dime store and Vigo's Cafe, and Penny's, and
Levy Jones.
Levy Jones on the other side of the street, Alonzo's Market, Lefso's Drug. What
Blankenbiller's Drug.
Blankenbiller's Drug. What do you guys remember about Rushville? Just your general memories.
The same thing.
The
I
thriving-
remember
That was a thriving little community.
when I was 11, our mother really worked hard at Christmas to make it nice and surprise us. And Santa Claus came on Christmas Eve, and I wanted some silk stockings so badly. And looked through all the boxes and no sign of it, disappointed. And there was one pen box, so I thought she got me a fountain pen. And that woman managed to stuff silk stockings and surprised me. And I was really keen about that, and they cost 25 cents
Yeah,
at that time.
we both got them before any of the
Box
other
of money,
kids.
25 cents.
25
Yeah,
cents.
25 cents for silk. Not nylon, but silk.
Mhm.
And the other kids our age didn't have them. And she was always good at that. She always bought us something just a little bit before the other kids got it. Even though it wasn't expensive, But it made us really feel good.
She really worked to make it special. On Easter, I even acted like I believed in the bunny after I didn't. Cause
I both believe in the Easter Bunny for a long time.
I didn't want to disappoint her.
I didn't want her to disappoint me either.
You have that too.
Where did things, terms like Santa Claus is the spirit of giving, where did that come from? Did anybody tell you that?
We didn't emphasize that. We were interested in taking. They had a roller skating rink. We used to go roller skating. We skated on the sidewalk. There was an ice rink. They filled out with water and freeze in the winter, and we'd skate. Made our own entertainment, really.
What was the meanest thing you ever did to each other?
I was never mean.
No, I always was kind to her.
Must have been something.
What are you laughing at?
Did you ever argue?
Never.
You ever fight over boys?
No, that's true, we didn't.
You
I,
need a drink?
Hmm?
You need something to drink?
I'm afraid to. Yeah, I guess so.
Here,
It's probably diluted.
oh, here it is, right here.
Thanks.
Too late, you've been caught.
It's recorded.
Oh, she didn't want it on camera.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that you can remember, I mean, sisters. Not-
Well, we bickered.
You bickered, what'd you bicker about?
Still big.
Things haven't changed.
Did you argue over clothes? Did you wear each other's clothes or?
No, we didn't. I got the hand-me-downs. She outgrew them and I got them.
How'd you feel about that?
Great. It didn't bother me a bit.
Hey, people gave us clothes that my mother knew, and we were pleased.
Oh yeah, we had an aunt who would give us her clothes, you know, and we were delighted. Some of them were kind of ugly, but we still were delighted.
There was one black one, and I thought I was too young to wear black, and I had to. I didn't like that one.
I don't remember that.
Do you have boyfriends in high school?
Oh, no.
Have what?
Boyfriends?
No.
No boyfriends?
Oh, I was a sophomore when I had my first date.
What was your first date?
You a junior?
Sophomore, she said.
Either, I think,
Who is it?
Junior Alonzo.
oh, no, there was one before that. But I didn't mention names.
Did you go to the movie or soda or?
Movie, and then the dance, the ballroom was right below the theater, right across the street. And what time we had to come home from the dance, at 10 o'clock?
Probably.
Very early.
Early.
And if we went out of that dance hall, we came home. And we knew very well that we should, because she might be looking out the window. She'd see us out there and then see us go back in. Ooh, I'd hate
Trouble,
to. Ooh, that would have been bad.
There, we had a dance band in high school, and I got to play the piano in that, and I liked that.
Did I play the drums in that? Did I play the drums in that dance band?
No.
Now, Mom, you've told me about boyfriends in high school, maybe not a lot, so you,
No, I don't think so.
no? Okay.
That came later.
Kind of against the rules.
Yeah.
Huh?
What kind of rules did Grandma have for you?
Wait, let me
I
change
think
the tape.
Tom pretty well covered him.
What'd you say, Jerry?
Oh, you changed the tape.
All right,
This
so
is
many
too long,
rules.
no.
What about letting you go out on your own? What were her rules for you to be out?
Just to be home at 10 o'clock.
The war was going on in the 40s. What did you guys do about that? I mean,
I
Was
did
there-
Madge was married, and I did my patriotic duty.
what was that?
Dance with anybody who asked me.
Oh, jeez.
She went to the Legion
Father-
Club where the guys came over to be entertained, and she went over there and entertained them.
I played the piano, and they had free coffee and donuts.
Was it USO?
At the US, yeah. Where
Remember
was
what
that?
Gerald said last year? And he saw me over there, and he came and hit on me.
Well, Dad, you were married at that point?
I was married when I was 19.
What year? 1943. Did I see that?
Yeah, and we used to go over to Alliance, a carload, and dance. They'd have a lot of soldiers in there, and we'd dance and then go home. And then I wrote a lot of letters.
These were soldiers, airborne guys, or paratroopers, mainly at Alliance.
Did a lot of boys from Rushville end up in the war?
Yeah, but we didn't. The ones we met were from New York or someplace else, or Ohio.
Ohio, yeah. She married the Ohio one.
And my mom did say, Pearl, I did hope you wouldn't go out with any paratroopers. But he won her over. He loved him. She liked him.
Yeah, she did.
Even, this was before he shipped out. I mean, Grandma really warmed up to him early on.
Oh, yeah. One night he came over, she said, Pearl, you've been drinking. And I said, I know it. And he said, are you ready to go? And I said, I'm not sure I'm going with you. And he said, well, suit yourself. That tickled my mother. She liked that.
Why?
Well, he was no patsy. Nobody's going to pull him around. He was really nice and cooperative and lots of things, but you didn't order him around. He was his own man.
So, how did you meet, tell us about Uncle Charles. How did you meet him?
I think his dad introduced us. He was going to Wesleyan University in Lincoln.
He was.
And he came home for Christmas, and his dad was pastor at our Methodist church at that time.
Okay.
And I met him then, and he never went back to school.
So was Uncle Charles from Rushville too?
His dad was.
His dad was.
Actually, last home he'd had at home was in Hemingford.
Okay.
And then his dad was transferred to Rushville, and that fall he'd gone to Wesleyan University.
Oh, I see.
And came home and Christmas time and never went back, and we were married the next June.
Oh, all right.
Were you and Dad at Wesleyan at the same time?
No, I went later. That was, what, 3?
I think I saw in the book it was 1943.
Yeah.
And I went the year of 44 and 45. I was working in the courthouse and earning my own money and had earned enough money to go to school. And I thought, I can't spend the rest of my life in the county clerk's office. So I went home expecting an argument and announced, I am going to Wesleyan. And my mother said, when are you leaving? No argument.
Here's a train ticket.
That was it, yeah.
Why did you choose Wesleyan?
Because it was Methodist. And I was Methodist.
Right. So Dad had shipped out. He was overseas at that time. So you went off to college, and basically you met him before you went to college. You went to college, and then you came back home. You were only there for a year.
Yeah.
A little over
Then
a year.
he came back and we got married.
Yeah. And then you didn't go back to Wesleyan?
No, I wanted to go on, but never so I could. You know.
So you had a year at Wesleyan?
A year. Yeah. Great year. I loved it.
And he
the
corresponded
best
with you
piano
the whole time he was gone, or you corresponded with him?
Yeah. And he'd say things like, he was in a 10. He'd say things like, it's getting dark. I have to close now because I didn't go to night school. Stuff like that, you know.
So you knew then that it was being...
Well, yeah, that's my first, for a fellow, the first requirement is a sense of humor. And then they can be nice looking and maybe have money. I don't know why I asked that one.
I think you needed to reorder that a little more.
So what did it take to get you to move from Nebraska all the way to Ohio?
All he had to do was ask.
That's all. Huh?
Mhm.
Well, you were easy.
Yeah, it was. I liked Ohio.
And what did Graham say when you said you were getting married and moving to Ohio?
I don't know.
When I moved to Hemingford, she had a fit, so I thought maybe you were.
Irma Mays was putting up a big fuss about Betty, so she said, Irma, your children have to go where they want to go.
So you were married in Rushville.
Yeah.
And then went to...
Actually, I went out, he got back, and I went out to meet his folks, and it was not a nice trip. It was on a train, but it was not a nice trip.
Really?
And I thought, I can't go back alone. And my mother, when I left, said, don't you come back from there and expect me to get a wedding in 3 weeks. And I came back, and she did.
She did.
Yeah.
So you went out and met Grandma and Grandpa Bean, came back, and then 3 weeks later
With
he
him.
came out.
No,
Oh,
he
he
came
came
out
back
with
with
me.
Oh, he came back with you.
And
Okay,
we
I
got
see.
married and went back there Christmas Eve.
So So did any of the beans come out for the wedding?
No, I mean, there wasn't time, you know. We just, we were going to get married in May and then decided. I didn't like that trip alone.
So then you and Charles got married when, in 40?
2 years earlier. Graduated 42.
Had to be 43, it's in the book.
I think it was
43?
Yeah, 43.
And he didn't go back to school. He only stayed a semester. And he was a custodian at Northeast High School, Lincoln Northeast High School.
Was he?
The year, I believe, that it opened.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Oh,
As he was going to school, his...
That's part of the way he was earning his money to go to school.
Yeah.
Northeast is in the general vicinity, but I think he had to ride a bike or something between the Northeast campus and the Weston campus. Northeast was out on the edge of town then.
That was quite a ways away then, wasn't it?
It was significant then.
Yeah. So, how much later did the bouncing baby come along after you were either yeah, Tom, actually he was our
Tom was
first of
born
the
when I
cousins.
left. We all were crazy about him. He was so cute.
Couldn't help ourselves.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, that's right. Graduated 42, married 43, Tom 44.
44, yeah, okay, all right, that makes some sense.
What, let's kind of zip back again. We're kind of doing topics here. But your family, your extended family, your aunts, Grandma had a lot of sisters. Grandma Thomas had a lot of sisters. What do you remember about those aunts? Because they raised her basically. And in some ways, you'd think that they would be real close to her. But what do you remember about your relationship with Agnes and Ollie?
Well, Uncle Bruce couldn't understand why they didn't get along better. I don't know either, but we used to go out to the farm and have great dinners. You know, fried chicken and the works, pie, everything.
To whose farm?
Oh, and Minnie.
Minnie,
Agnes.
Agnes,
Ollie lived in town, and Ellen lived in Wyoming.
Ellen lived in Wyoming or in Montana?
well, she lived in Wyoming for a long time.
And
Then her husband died. Her husband was the brother to
Herman Stone.
Herman Leona's father. So those cousins were as close as cousins can be. Two sisters married two brothers.
Wow.
Who are the cousins that you grew up with that you remember and that you had good times with?
All of them. We got along well.
Margaret and Marion, they lived in the country and we used to go up there.
And who was
Those
their
were
mother?
Minnie and Otto.
So,
Minnie and Otto. And we were just talking about that this morning. We used to go out on the shed and lay on the shed and watch the stars fall and watch, you know, we'd get excited when the stars fall. Oh, there's one over there, you know.
so this was about 2 miles, 3 miles west of
3 miles,
Rushville.
at least 3
It was
miles.
about a mile from the log cabin.
Oh, it's probably a mile, two, maybe.
Maybe a couple miles.
Yeah,
Is that Graham? Okay.
that was the original home place for the Higgins. So who else were the cousins?
Leona and Herman, Leona and I had a ball. We used to walk out to Minnie's and have lunch and walk home. But we played duets, piano duets. We had a
Leona
great
and
time.
Irma's mother was?
Agnes.
Agnes.
And I'd go down to Leona's and we played duets, and then she'd mix up some Kool-Aid and poured Grandpa's whiskey in it, and he had kickapoo joy.
I didn't know that.
Did your mother?
What did you call it?
Kickapoo joy juice.
Joy juice.
That's how Will Abner.
Oh, yeah. Wow, she was funny. We had a great time.
Then there was Johnny and Isabel. Those were Aunt Ollie's.
And they were the oldest.
And they were the oldest.
What was her
No,
last name?
Alan and Wayne and Irene were they not?
Well, Johnny was
Johnny was the
of all.
oldest.
So
Okay.
these were Clarks.
Johnny Isabel Clark, Wayne and Irene Steltenpool, and who came? Cordes, or
Scout and Paul, Leon and Irma, Scout and Paul, and Margaret and Marion, and Madge Pearl. And then many years later, Sharon.
Sharon who?
Higgins,
Who
Uncle
was
Bruce.
her parent?
Uncle Bruce. He wasn't married until he was he was past 40, I guess. Yeah, he was. And Lucille was 40, I think, when
So she was his wife?
41. 41 when Sharon was born.
What do you remember about Uncle Bruce?
We all loved him.
I'm out of tape. I'm out of tape. Remember that thought. We all loved him. We'll start there.
Okay, we were
As soon as I
crazy.
put in another tape.